I had a couple of experiences recently where like serendipitous, surprising experiences with fans. One was I was at a Target and I was walking around with, we do that thing where you don't get a carriage but you end up buying everything. And yeah, this couple, Nina and Frankie, are walking around with, in my case, it was a shitload of Diet Mountain Dew, as you would expect.
As you expect. Do you have one on you now?
Yeah, I do, but it's actually a bottle, which is
classy.
Normally, I got big cans, big sweet.
Usually got big
can.
Sweet candy,
sweet can. When all of a sudden I'm walking through Nina needed to pick up some berries. When all of a sudden somebody goes, "You look so familiar," and I go, "Yeah, probably." and he's like, "Are you in a podcast?" Now that's the first time I've been. Well, no, that's not the first time. It's one of the first times I've been recognized in public for the podcast. I probably have been recognized for Boxmack like 20 times or something, lifetime. It happens like twice a year, probably.
If you go to the Random Flea, chances are you're going to see Frankie.
Yeah. In fact, we should just straight up have a fan meetup at the Random Flea. They're all there anyway. It's like, because you know what it is we have a fair amount of fans in the area, and the Random Flea is only open on Sundays. And so like it dramatically increases the likelihood of a chance, meetup, a chance encounter. Anyway, so he's like, "I know you from a podcast." And I was like, "Oh, it must be the James Rolfe stuff." He's like, "Yeah, but I watch the other stuff too. Like, I watch you guys talk about movies and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, wow." And he was nice, and I left. And then I told him, I said, "Well, actually, we did a Junt's cart on this very Target, so you should check that out." And yeah, maybe an hour later, he left a comment being like, "Junt is absolutely right. Our prices make no sense." And, his name, ironically, was Blueberry, and we were picking up blueberries in his very aisle. So the produce man is named Blueberry. But so that was cute. Yeah, the other time with the podcast was I was interviewing somebody, like a network administrator. And, we were getting off the call, and he's like, I just got to tell you, I was literally watching you last night talk about James Rolfe's book. And I was like, "Oh, that's fucking weird."
That's fucking weird. I've had that happen in an interview too, where they'll be like, "Did you do camera reviews?" I don't remember when I used to do those.
Yeah, if you look at the other channel and you sort by like most viewed, like there's a big batch of EJ stuff that has achieved a lot of.
I'm not as recognizable in public though, because I look like every other bearded man. So I'm sure there's some random bearded men that people approach. Are like, "Are you on a podcast?" And it's like, are you the cackling gentleman?
People have left comments being like, "I saw Frankie in Chinatown today in Boston." Like, why are you following me? Or like, I saw John getting his COVID vaccine at Foxborough Stadium. These are all true things. We do live lives. It's fun. Remember James was like, "I'm the right level of famous, where I get recognized, but not nonstop and stuff." I'm like, I think this is the right level of famous. You get recognized twice a year, and it's really weird and really funny, and otherwise you have a perfectly normal life.
Yes.
That's the way to go. But the other one, which was quite surprising, was so Kevin Smith. We've been talking about him a lot lately. Mm-hmm. He has these friends, Walt Flanagan, Brian Johnson, and Brian Quinn, who went on to do Impractical Jokers and is much more famous for that now. But those guys work at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash in New Jersey, and they started doing their own podcast called Tell 'em Steve Dave. And I got to tell you, like, I listened to that podcast for like 10 years. I kind of fell off, not intentionally, but just, you've listened for 10 years. You get it. Yeah. It's time to listen to other things. Like they're taking up the bandwidth of potential audiobooks at a certain point. But I think their podcast is infinitely better than any of Kevin's pods. Like they're just a lot more inventive. They have a lot, like they're more normal people. They suffer with all kinds of various issues and stuff. And they're really funny about the way they rib each other really badly. And that, that's always entertaining. And they started getting creative with like side projects. And one of their first side projects was they brought the podcast to life by doing, it was called Tell 'em Steve Dave Puppet Time Theater, I think is what it was called. And they timed the podcast to puppets of themselves instead of doing like animations, like the Ricky Gervais kind of thing. And they hired this college student at the time and it's awesome. The puppets look great. The physical comedy that this dude put together to bring it all to life, the comedy opportunities that he found in like their silent, in much the way that like animators find that stuff. He found it through the puppet performances. Well, it was like a Kickstarter at the time. You pay to get the DVD, and so I got it and I loved it. And in fact, I was at a Q&A with Kevin Smith for Jay and Silent Bob's Groovy cartoon movie. And I asked, have you seen the Puppet Time movie? And he was like, no. It was like pretty obscure. Well, guess what? Somebody subscribes to our Patreon and he's like, hey, you got on episode 33, you guys mentioned my puppet movie for Tell 'em Steve Dave. I did that movie. And I was like, no fucking way. Because I really am genuinely like very impressed by that thing.
Wow.
And turns out, and he was like, well, it's really inspiring to listen to normal guys who like to make movies. And hey, how do you, and we had like a nice conversation about avoiding burnout and time management and balancing it and whatever. But yeah, he's a total talent. It was just what a small goddamn world that he would pop up.
Man, that's really cool. Yeah. That is really cool. Well, we have Trash Bag It, and so we have puppets.
Basically the same.
We're basically the same. It's the same thing.
At the Random Flea, there's a booth of like this guy makes these kind of Sesame Street Avenue Q style puppets, and that kind of look like Trash Bag It. And I always wonder if Matt could run away and join the flea market.
He could run away and join the flea market.
I used to think I was going to run away and join the flea market. When we became kind of famous there for the videos that we made, and they were like, please make more videos with us or whatever. I was like, is there a future for me, like as a marketeer of the Random Flea Market instead of what I'm doing now?
I'm sure we probably could do something with local places like that.
Well, I'll tell you, if and when we shoot our next feature film, I'm going to figure out a way for the plot to revolve around a flea market, and we're going to shoot in that flea market, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, of course. There's some shots in that, because I was using that weird wide lens. There's some pretty cool shots in that you can get in that place.
I have a goal this year. I don't know if I'll do it, but I'm going to try to bang out a script. It's time to dude. I mean, I haven't shot a feature since 2013, man. It's been 10 years. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I think I'm feeling a little creatively not in a slump, but I feel like I need like a slight sabbatical from like stuff. I'll probably still make some things, but it's just like I don't know. I gotta like reboot or something.
I think it's very important to I want to make a 10-minute Who is Red Cow entertainment. And like, here's all like the milestones. Here's what, here's this movie, here's that movie, here's this project here. And, these types of people like this, and, common questions. How did Frankie, EJ, John meet? When did they meet? All that's because like the points of there's so many varied points of entry at this point into getting into our content. And it's always hard to catch people up and to inform them about the backlog and it's so likely that like, yeah, you might not like the cooking stuff, but you might like the video game stuff, or you might only like the cooking stuff or whatever. But we need a 10-minute, like, here's the whole story. Like, take it or leave it, but here's the whole story. Here, just so you know, a book, some people, they'll watch us for years and they'll be like, you have a book? You wrote a book? Got to put all that like in one spot and push that video a little bit. It would make me feel better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a more detailed because we've got so much content over many years. Even just our content together, we've been making stuff together for like 8 years now. So
yeah. I really enjoyed that first year when we were kind of flirting, when we were just making cartoons and kind of chatting a lot about like. And that was maybe a year before Having Fun Up There, right? No, it was afterwards. It was after,
I think.
Yeah, it was like 2014. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's been a good, very, very good run. I always, most of my collaborators, I'll stick with somebody for 3, 4, 5 years or whatever. And eventually we grow apart and stuff. And I've been very, very happy that hasn't happened with us. And I think it's a tragedy.
Until I betray you.
Yes, you're a backstabbing cunt. I think it's a travesty that we have, we've shot stuff together, but we haven't shot a feature together.
That's true.
That just seems
true.
wrong.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.